Hey, it's Spence. We're live. It is Friday, November 15th, 2024. And I got to tell you, I'm happy to be back here. I had a week off. I am recuperating nicely. Believe it or not, it was one of my busiest and most productive weeks in a long time, probably because I really couldn't sit very long and stand very long and do some stuff. I'm feeling quite a bit better, but today, if I have to stand up or move around, I'm going to do it just because I'm honoring the request of my surgeon. So, like Rocky Balboa and everything else, it's not how many times life hits you and knocks you down, it's how many times you get up. And I'm hoping that this is the trick. So, today, I decided I wanted to an office hours, and it's about something that really is representative of where the benefits of the LaunchKit come in. It's the power of snippets that you hold in the palm of your hand. Let me do an audio check real quick, because if I don't, I'm going to regret it later. I want to make sure we're coming through. Let me do an audio check real quick. Okay. It's a good sign when we start out good. I'm going to wait for everybody to come on in and say hi. Everybody, hello. Today I'm going to work without a net. What we're going to talk about is the concept of, if, for example, you have the LaunchKit, and we're going to go from scratch, you have a freezer full of ingredients, one of which is the Fluent Snippets. And what it allows us to do is essentially, with a very little bit of help from Uncle Spence and the community, or from AI, as I'll show you, you can extend the power of what the normal features are in WordPress now with snippets. And you don't have to be a coder. You do have to understand the basics of like what you're copying and pasting, but I'm going to show you how easy that is. So think of it like if you bought a bunch of stuff from IKEA, you don't have to know how to make furniture, but you can put some accessories, right? Like if you buy a table and chairs from IKEA, you can now just put the little thing on the table, the placeholder doilies, and make it all look beautiful, right? So you can accessorize the features of LaunchKit. And I'm going to start calling LaunchKit Minute Launch. So I'm going to divest a slight amount of time, because I'm going to show you what's happened. This week there was part of the ongoing never-ending drama of WordPress. There was more drama in WordPress this week. So what had happened is, I think on the day after I went in for my surgery, Monday or something, they just pulled a bunch of plugins, including LaunchKit. And they basically said, you can't do any of the stuff you're doing in LaunchKit. We don't like it. It breaks our rules. And I'm like, well, okay. I want to have the LaunchKit plugin in the repository, even as a launching place, to get to the pro version, even though the pro version is free. But they just wouldn't let me keep it in there unless I made some changes. So I basically said, yes, your repository, your rules. I had to reinvent stuff. So for many of you, I appreciate your patience. I came up with a great new system that is totally in compliance with what they need, but it'll also allow you to install the LaunchKit full version, the pro version, from any server, which is what we're going to do today, because this allows you and anybody who is your clients to get this installed piece of cake. And it'll include the Fluent Snippets. So the little backstory is that's why we had a couple days of weirdness and I have to swap out some plugins. I also had great success, which I'm going to share today, with working with the very things I'm going to show you on some client projects, and achieved mind-blowing stuff. So let's dive in, and I'm giving you a heads up that I'm feeling groovy. Say hello if you're here, but if I have to do this quicker or not, I'll let you know. Right now I'm feeling pretty okay. So first of all, let's start out. If we were to use, why is this important, Spence? Well, if, for example, you go to wordpress.org, plugins LaunchKit, this is available in any hosting environment everywhere, right? So if you were to go to a WordPress site, or you go to wordpress.org or wordpress.com, LaunchKit is a plugin. It's back, baby. And it says, just note the version 2.091. It's not the pro version. This is the launching version. It still has some features in it that are useful, but not the full thing. That's where you click the button and you get the full thing without any expense. So I'm going to use InstaWP today instead of try.new to launch a new website. I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to launch it. And this will allow us to see how fast and easy this can be. And you can play with all of these toys yourself because InstaWP allows you to do the same. ZipWP allows you to do the same. You could just start doing exactly what I'm doing on your own. Follow along, or I'm going to explain or announce the new Spence list, the Spence community thing that's going to be part of it. Okay, so when you come in and start out, notice all the menu items are gone here. It just says get started. That's it. Okay. You don't like it that I'm doing extra stuff? Everybody else is, that's fine. Just click this button. And because they can't deny that everybody else does this, I've written the plugin now. It doesn't, that's it. You're done. LaunchKit Pro is now installed. So when you go back, you'll notice now you have the features and the Pro features. What we're going to do, of course, is just put in your credentials from WP Launchify, which I'm going to be announcing for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, some new deals that allow you to get this for yourself and your clients on a much more interesting basis. Like we'll talk about that later. But what I like to do is install Cadence theme. Good morning. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you. I'm very, very pleased to be back. I'm installing the plugins here. Now, I don't have to put everything in, but what I like to do, as I've shown you, is I just install everything at once because it's so fast. It's just in the freezer. We don't need to use all of it today, but we're going to just put it all in there because that's the methodology that makes this super fast. Okay. Once we've done that, let's actually go over and figure out what we're going to turn on. What I want to do today, I'll put in the starter templates plugin, but like what I want to do today is not so much design. What I want to do is functionality. So if I go to the plugins, what we're going to install is number one, the Fluent Snippets plugin. And this is a plugin that's going to allow us to essentially manage these cute little pockets of code for various things. And if you've never done this before, you're going to be really amazed. Okay, so let's go over here. I was quite sure that I had included it in today's package. There it is. I just put in 10.3.4. So when you turn that on, you've got Fluent Snippets here. So let's introduce you first to this, and then we'll talk about what other things we can do. Fluent Snippets is like a miniature environment that instead of using the old-fashioned method of having a theme and a child theme, and then let's say custom style CSS or a functions PHP file, this is an environment that allows you basically three types of code, maybe four. One are functions. Two is content, which it's pretty cool you can do that. I don't use it for that, but it's pretty cool you can do that. The third is style, and the fourth are JavaScripts. Now, you can actually mix and match all four of these into one by using functions PHP, which is what I tend to do. I don't know what that means. It's 9. Oh, that's weird. You know what? I guess it's going to be a replay for the other people. You know what? I started prematurely. It's 9 o'clock. You are right. This is what happens when you take medicine. So Sharon, guess what? It's you and me, baby. I'm just going to have to do this one live. And then I don't know. I think what happened was, honestly, I think StreamYard screwed up a little bit. And I just set this up for 10 o'clock or I went early. So now I'm confused, but there's somewhere about 6 to 12 people in here. So I'm just going to go with this. Normal start time in Arizona. I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't make much difference because I'm in the mood. We're rolling, but hi, Randy. Why do we have time changes? I have no idea. It actually time changed, I think on my birthday or the day before, the Sunday before my birthday. So it was like last Sunday. Whatever. We're here. Thank you guys for straightening me out. I didn't even realize it's 9 o'clock. Okay. So what we're going to talk about here is how we might use these, but let's identify some of the tools. And what I might do also is bounce this down a little bit so we can see a couple more details. There we go. When you create a snippet, whatever type it may be, we want to give it a name. We want to give it a description, which will become handy. We want to actually organize it if we want into groups, which could be super helpful, as I'll show you in a second. And we can use this priority, which is what WordPress uses Yeah, I don't know what the heck, right? And then we can give it tags. We also have controls over here about where it can run. So it can run on the back end for administrator only. It can run on the front end only, or it can run everywhere. And then we can also add conditional logic, which is really super cool. If you're using Fluent CRM, I'll show you there's additional options here that like only run this if somebody has a tag. Wait for it, right? So there are things here that are really powerful. And also it has a safety check in it, which is to say, if you're using PHP, typically it's possible you can break the crap out of your site. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And if you do that and you're running it as a standard function, then you have to kind of know what to do to get the site back up, which typically means you have to go on the back end through SMTP or something like that. When you're using the Fluent snippets, 9 out of 10 times it won't be a problem, because it'll essentially fix itself. It will give you a yellow warning like, sorry, Spence, you can't do that, right? I'll give you an example. I'll just make a silly function here. Let's say I put PHP at the beginning, and you don't need to know how to code. I'm just showing you. And we say, echo hello world, and then end PHP. What it's going to do is it's going to give me a warning when I try to create this, because it already has a PHP statement at the beginning. Watch what happens. This is actually, it doesn't give me the yellow code. This just gives me a red code. It says, this cannot start with PHP, right? So it's kind of acting like the bowling alley when you put those bumpers in. You can't really throw a gutter ball as easily. I suppose you could, but you can't. So if we were to just write a function from scratch, which is not my purpose here, I could literally say, let's call it, function hello world. And again, don't worry, because I've been coding for some time. This is second nature to me. And we can say, add action, WP head, hello world. I'm going to show you why you don't need to worry about this in a second. Hello world. Okay, so here's a very basic function I wrote that would hook onto the WP head of wherever I want it. Now, as an example, if this was something that I wanted to work on the front end of the site, okay, let's actually put some H1s in there so it's super giganto. If I was to put this and I wanted to run on the front end of the site, I could say run everywhere and just not worry. Or I could just say front end only if it was important to not have anything like this show up on the back end. Okay. If I run everywhere, we'll call this hello world. I like to name it if I'm working with stuff, so it's very specific. So if I was working with other people, I'd put my name, WP Launchify, and hello world. And then I say what it does. This adds hello world to the front of all pages in the header. Okay, now, why do I want to put it in a group? Maybe I want to group a bunch of stuff together, right? So put stuff, things that display on the site. Okay, so I can put it in the things that display group, easier to organize. Priority by default is 10. With WordPress, the higher the number, the later it will run. That's a weird thing. It's like number 1 is first, 99, 999 is later. But what happens is it like goes down the list. So the last thing to run has the highest number, but it actually has priority. Like last one out, turn off the lights. And then you can put a tag on here, right? And you could say something like more descriptive, notices, right? When we create the snippet, it will first say whether you're good to go. See, snippet created successfully. And then we can activate or deactivate. Now, that's a super cool feature of snippets because we can turn these things on and off. First of all, let's go back to the main menu of code snippets and see we've got our folder, things that can display. We can look at this by groups or by table. Very easy to organize. But when I roll my mouse over, see, I've got a little toggle. I could turn this sucker on and off, which is so much better and easier, more efficient to manage than functions PHP, and even easier than doing standard plugins, which you will ultimately do once you've decided on some stuff. But for right now, this is a super easy way to do stuff because you can just organize a bunch of snippets, get it sorted out, and then you can compile them if you want into one big plugin. and you can put an interface on them. Let's see if this thing actually works, because this is not my point. But if I go to the front of the site, here's my hello world. Okay. Now, let's do some cool things to show CSS. In the actual snippet, I could echo CSS, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do something even more clever. Notice, because it has an H1 tag, and I can even specify this a little more and say class equals hello. Again, don't need to worry about coding, and I'll show you why in a second. When I update the snippet, warning, danger. You put in a syntax error, dude. That's the part that is really cool about it, preventing you from doing stupid stuff. Line number 2, hello, expecting or on line 2. All right, so let's fix it. Hello, class equals, and what we have here is a problem. It doesn't like it that I put the same kind of singular quote. It needs a double quote there, because otherwise it doesn't know what starts and ends the statement. Now it works correctly, and if I refresh the page, the yellow warning goes away. So super cool example. Why did I do that? I did that because, and I'm going to have to stand up, I can feel it. If I go over here, I'm honoring my body's request for you're sitting too long. If I go over here and I inspect this, I now have the ability with the Chrome Inspector, or you can use Safari or whatever, but right now I can click on this and I can see class equals hello. If I want to make a custom CSS rule, I just click the plus button and it gives me the specific elements, right? The specific elements would be H1 with the class, that's where the little period comes in, of hello. And so what we can do is now let's change something. Color red. Oh, look, it changes. Let's do font size. Let's do it in terms of relative REMs. So we'll say font size 2 rem. Let's see if that'll help me. Let's do bigger. 3 rem, 4 rem, 5 rem. Okay. Let's copy this rule. And now we go back to snippets and let's make a new snippet. This snippet is a CSS snippet. So we go to style CSS, we create a new one, and I paste that in. Specify style CSS. Notice we don't need a PHP tag. Now we've got a style tag. And we're going to call this WP Launchify. You don't need to put the name here if you're working by yourself, but WP Launchify color H1 hello red. Styles hello world. And we can put it in the same snippet group, things that display, and we can put a tag colorize. Whatever makes sense to you, that's what's important. Okay. Now, if we want, this is called inline style. If we want, we can load this as a separate style sheet. Not like super relevant here, but normally by doing it as an inline style, the performance testers like, Google Page Speed Test and so forth, they will look on it more favorably. But if you feel it's helpful to just do this as a separate style sheet, its own independent line, you can do that just with that. And similarly, we can run it on the front end or whatever. Let's create a snippet. Now, notice this is really basic, but when I refresh the page, let's make sure we've got everything activated. No, when I refresh the page, it's gone. Now let's activate it and refresh the page, and it should appear. Ta-da. Okay. Let's take it a step further, shall we? Let's do some kind of cool conditional stuff. So I have not installed with LaunchKit yet Fluent CRM, but let's install that because I'm going to show you how you can do some crazy cool stuff based upon what's happening with the user. First of all, for LaunchKit, all you do is choose all options. And I typically will just uncheck the first one because I don't want to hide the menu. This will give me the experience I want. And I'm going to go ahead and install Fluent CRM. Oh, I've already done that actually. So let's just go activate it. So we're going to do Fluent CRM. Here we go. Fluent CRM Pro. And we don't need to put a lot of other stuff in here. I know I could, but that's not my point. So I'm just going to activate these so they can show you some conditional stuff that's super cool when you got the CRM in place. All right, so now that we've got that, we have to just do a really quick settings just to get it in place. And to do that, we're just going to say, let's go. We'll call it office hours. And I don't need a logo today. And I'm going to give it a main list. One list is all you need for succeed. And I'll give it a sample tag 1 and sample tag 2. These are tags that we can use for marketing automation that allow us to differentiate what somebody sees or does or clicks or buys or anything. And for today, we're going to use it for conditional display. Okay, now I'm set up. Let's go to the CRM dashboard. There's not much else here now, but because we've got that, if we go to Fluent Snippets, if I am not wrong, when we refresh the page, let's conditionally display the red. So if we go over to our conditional logic, now we should have some things that explain where I can go with Fluent CRM, in addition to the user. So if I go to Fluent CRM, are they a contact? Do they have certain tags? Are they on certain lists? How does this work? Well, what if you only wanted to change the color to red if somebody had the tag of sample tag? Pretty cool, right? So contact tags includes in and the tag of sample 1. Okay. And we say update snippet. If I refresh the page, I'm looking at it and it's no longer red because Spence doesn't have the tag. However, let's go into my Fluent CRM dashboard and let's add Spence. Okay. So I'm going to add myself. Actually, let's do it a different way. Let's go over here and I should show you this. Let's just make it that when we do general settings, we sync all the WordPress user data. And we're, in this case, we don't need to worry about deleting. We create them when they register in WordPress. This way, I could just allow the CRM to do this for me. Okay. All right. So now when I do this, I've got a situation where I'm basically able to be in here as a contact. And I'm not sure, but let me look real quick because I think they added this. Usually I do this with WP Fusion, but if I go to my user profile, I think I can just synchronize there as well. This is where I do it with WP Fusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one more plugin. Let's turn on WP Fusion because I want you guys to see the power of this option. This is really cool. So WP Fusion is like the USB connector between the CRM and many of the functions that you can pull off. So let's just go activate WP Fusion. Super fast. We're going to just do one thing, settings, WP Fusion, and we're going to activate the connection to Fluent CRM. I'll just type Fluent CRM. We're going to do this site, connect. And this is why it's super cool. If I save the changes and I go here, I say everybody goes to the main list as our primary thing. And also you want this checkbox at the top, create new contacts when registered, save users. And now what I can do is refresh the tags and fields, and I can just really quickly synchronize any particular person, including myself. So if it's done like after the fact, it's a great, simple way of updating things, which is what my point was. So I'll go users profile, and I know I'm talking fast, but this is just perfunctory. Good morning. Oh, that's fantastic. Chris, I missed you. Chris on the West Coast, so I'm glad you made it. Maybe I should be doing it at 9 o'clock from now on, right? So in WP Fusion, no contact has been created. Let's create a new contact. And we notice when we do, we have an ability right here to essentially synchronize stuff or add tags directly. So I can literally just click here and say, give me sample tag 1 and save, and I'm good to go, right? So now watch what happens when I resync this. If I go back to the front, now I'm logged in. There's one other thing I should do though, because I'm the admin. WP Fusion has an option when you're the admin to have all of the tags and stuff ignored. Let's turn that rule off. So if I go to settings general in WP Fusion, there's this option here. Right here. Right here. Content restriction, exclude administrators. Let's not exclude administrators. That way it'll be like I'm a regular old user. Okay. When I refresh the page, the rule was conditionally show the CSS through the snippet if somebody has the tag of sample one. Let's see if it works. Ta-da! And there's a neat little tool, preview a tag. So I can even do this dynamically. I don't have to go through all the trouble, but I just wanted to show you how cool it was. So let's go back and see what we've got. We've got two new things in Fluent Snippets that are just super cool, like peanut butter and chocolate. They work together to make something better. I've got some functionality. I've got some styling. Now I could do some content too if I wanted. And content is, I don't usually do this, but it is possible. I can add in some content and then it says, where do you want to run it? And I can create a short code, site-wide, before content. These are called hooks. And this is a short code. The short code is really cool because that's like a little package that holds all of this magic in it. Okay. So if I created some content, I can do the same thing as I did before, but instead of having to write a hook into it, I can do this as a self-contained package. So let's do this. Let's go and grab the first tchotchke that I created. Well, actually, let's not. Let's just do it like this. We're going to make some content and it's going to say H1. Hey, baby. It's a short code. And it's just regular old HTML. But I can create this as a short code. So it's going to basically be a little box, a little container, a little Tupperware short code. And I'm going to say WP Launchify short code. Hey, baby. Put this short code wherever you want. I'm going to put it in the same things that display on the site group, and I'll give it a tag short codes. And I'm going to say short code doesn't matter where you run it because it's a box. I'm not doing the conditional logic yet. I'm going to come back to it. But now watch what happens. Now it gives me the short code. This is so crazy. I just click on this thing. How does this work? Let's go to a page or a post, or even inside of, believe it or not, you can even use this inside of like a link with a Gutenberg block. But if I just go here, add new page, here's the Gutenberg editor. I'm going to say short code, baby. And now I'm going to put in here, I could just paste the block in, and Gutenberg's smart enough, not always, but in this case, smart enough to actually show the snippet ID with the name and everything else, so you can figure it out later. And if we just style the page to a basic cadence page, everything should be good. Let's publish without the publishing checks and see what we get. We view the page. We get an error. Snippet status is not published. Why? Because we didn't click activate. Remember, that's what's so cool about using snippets. It gives you all the logic to prevent yourself from putting your hand through a glass window. Let's refresh the page. That's a very drastic metaphor. Here's the short code baby page. Let's refresh the page. Hey, and there it is. Now let's layer this together. Let's add that special class of CSS we had. Remember, we put the class of pro inside of the other function. Let me remind you of that. So if we go over here, when we did the hello red, we just used dot hello, okay, because we had defined h1.hello as something that will be read. So we can apply that to the short code as well. Let's just do the same syntax, and we'll just do here h1 class equals, got to use double quotes, hello. And now we can use the same conditional style if we want, or we could just do it in global, right? So same thing. Is the CRM a content tags? By the way, while we're looking, let's look at the other options we've got. We can do this for logged in or user role. Never use user roles unless it's administrator or front end. Don't use that for regular subscribers. Just, this would be good like if they were an administrator, they could see it, or if they were not an administrator, they could not. Page, what type of page? Which post, which page does this work on? URL. We've got the date. Day of the week, only show this on Friday, right? Today's hopefully Friday. Okay, so let's try this one. We have h1 class hello. This tag will only show on Friday. Now, that's not the styling that has to do with whether this will show up. So let's do a different date. Let's say not in Friday. This should make it hide. When you refresh the page, this should go away. Oh, sorry. That's wrong. Let's check our logic. Enable conditional logic, not included in Friday. I don't know if the server thinks it's Friday. Maybe it's also off on whatever. Let's try a different logic. And also, I have to say that I'm not 100% sure whether or not Fluent CRM has the same logic of me being the administrator. I'm not sure if that's a factor in this. So let's try a different logic. Let's put something else in here that's more definitive. Let's try page. Okay, so this short code, that doesn't really work because we know what kind of page it is. I mean, we know the URL of a page. Let's try well, let's do I want to do something else, but let's do something like the Fluent CRM. And we're going to say contact tags not included in sample tag 1, because we know that I've got sample tag 1. Let's try this and see if this works for us. Sometimes even I have to play around with this and see if what's breaking or not breaking. Okay, so this isn't happy, probably because it's a short code. I'm a little surprised by that, but I think because the short code is self-contained. So let's change this from a short code. Let's change this to what we call a hook. A hook is the thing that I previously coded into the first one where I said, add an action, WP head. We can do that. Site-wide body, before the content, site-wide header, site-wide footer. Let's do site-wide footer, put the conditional logic in. It says, run this only if it's not in sample tag 1 for the user. Let's see if this gets us a better result. And there it works. Now, notice we've got this weird message, which doesn't really make me feel good about putting this in if I didn't have some other kind of wrapper around it, because you really don't want to have a short code that has logic that doesn't work, because it's going to spit out this weird thing. So the short code would be a good example if you had fallback logic. Like, in other words, the short code has something in it that is logic, but the short code will display a fallback or show nothing at all. But hopefully I've shown you a good example of how this stuff works. And the other thing about it is we can solve that problem if we just got rid of the short code. Because if we just delete this and we're using a hook like we are now doing here, we don't need the short code. We're telling it to run it in the site-wide footer. Okay, so let's remove the conditional logic. So it's just running in the site-wide footer. And let's look at the display page. And now we've got it in the footer. Okay. Let's cover the one more basics. Then I want to bring in my friend who I've hired for this job to write some really super cool stuff. There's scripts. Now, scripts are essentially things that run in the browser of the client, and they are really magic tricks because my body is sending me signals of it's time to sit down, Spence. I have like Dr. McGill says, you have capacity. Your body says like, hey, dude, this is how much you got left. Like the clock is running out, and I have to shift and switch. And I think I'll make it through the hour, but like, thank you for your indulgence. Scripts load in the browser of the client, which makes them awesome because they can do magic tricks in the browser of the client without having to talk to the server. The awesomeness they can do are things that, for example, change the look and feel or do some animation. So let's do something fun here. I'm calling in my friend. In this case, I can call in, I have 3 friends, ChatGPT, Claude, and more. Perplexity. Let's call in ChatGPT. Hi, ChatGPT. Nice to meet you. At night, I actually talk to my phone when I need the help. Let's tell it what to do. Think like a WordPress expert developer. I want you to give me a snippet to run in the Fluent Snippets plugin as a script. Script should produce an animated image of some kind, maybe a spinning wheel and it would be easy for me to place into any page. So don't make it dependent on anything outside the script. What I'm saying there is sometimes if you know a little bit about coding, which I'm teaching here, WordPress runs on jQuery. It already has jQuery running. I don't want it to try to do this thing called enqueuing that script. I just want it to run self-contained. And in doing so, it gives me something that's in the box that I can see. And the prompting is a whole conversation. I'm going to do more videos on it, and I'm going to put them in the community. Have fun. Surprise me. Give me code here. Now, I'm using ChatGPT. I'm going to use the new Canvas mode, so it'll show a really neat little text editor when it's done. Okay, now all I need to do, no coding required, is click the copy button, and it's Kismet. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to go over here to Fluent Snippets. Let's refresh. I'm going to make a new snippet. I'm going to paste it. Notice I had to double check when I go to scripts. Let's make sure it doesn't duplicate. Like, see how it says, maybe you can see it's very small. It says script at the very top. You just have to make sure it doesn't say it twice. And in this case, it does, but I don't think it's going to throw a warning. We'll see. It might throw a warning because it's saying script 2 times. Let's see if the little warning thing kicks in. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it this way with the style sheet above. Now, let's call this WP Launchify spinning wheel. Makes a fun spinning wheel for kids of all ages. We're going to put it in the, let's make a new thing. Well, it's kind of in that same group, but let's put it here. We'll call it Spinners. That was my nickname when I was a kid. Okay, let's create it. Let's see if it gives me a warning. No, it handled the script fine because it happened after the style started and stopped. So that's cool. Good to know. All right, now we're going to activate it. Oh, we have to say where it's going to run, right? So site-wide footer, site-wide header, blah, blah, blah. Where should we put it? Let's put it let's do site-wide header. I'm not really sure. Let's see what happens, site-wide header. Usually I like to run, no, let's do site-wide footer. I like to run scripts in the footer. Here's why. JavaScript, much like I was saying PHP priority, is like a bunch of kids in line at a grammar school trying to get to lunch. And if one of the kids causes a ruckus and breaks something, all the other kids after them get no lunch. Everything stops working. Okay, oh, see, it did. It finally gave me the script tag, right? So in that case, what I like to say is putting it in the footer is safer because that prevents things from breaking. I'm going to go here and I'm going to remove this script tag here and the script tag here. And where it says class spinning wheel, that was what it normally does to put it in. We may have to do that. So let's just see. Hold on. When I'm working with ChatGPT, sometimes I have to see what it does. It's not happy with any of this. Let's see. I have to sometimes see what it does and I have to deal with it. Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to work, this method, because what I might need to do is just put this right in line, which is something I'll show you how to do. But let's just try it. We'll activate it. And this is going on site-wide footer. Remember, I can also limit what pages it goes on, but let's just start with what we got and see what happens. And I don't see it working too well here. So let's try something. First of all, let's see if we can get it to work with ChatGPT's sort of expectation that we're going to just put it on a page directly. So if I put it on here and paste it, I need to put it into an HTML block, which sounds weird, but that's what we use to hold this kind of code stuff until we put it into Fluent Snippets. Okay, so I save that and let's see if we even get it to work. So it works nicely, but let's tell ChatGPT, dude, you got to fix this. Okay, it works in a page with HTML block, but I need this to work in a fluent snippet. And that means you have to clean up the code so it doesn't break the snippet container rules. Also, be sure that you understand I'm going to run this in the site-wide footer option. Fix the code, please. And it will give me the new version here, as simple as this. So it goes, ChatGPT working for free, gives me the code. Now let's go back and we're going to do two things. First of all, let's fix this page to get rid of the stuff we had just embedded. So we're going to get rid of the HTML block for the moment, and we'll just delete it and save. And then we're going to go back to our snippet. Let's clean up a little bit here. Let's go back to our snippet, and now let's just delete and paste and see whether it accepts this. I can see already it's going to be unhappy with the script stuff. So let's tell ChatGPT what the problem is. Let me say, fluent snippets, unhappy. Even if I make a typo, it'll work. Unhappy with this error because you added script tags. Please fix. And then I copy and paste in that error and it'll fix whatever it does. See, it's just taken out the script tags. Adjusting the syntax, super fast. If you know what to ask for, you learn how to talk to it. It's like ordering in your favorite restaurant. Okay. So now I've got a page that has nothing in it. Let's see what happens if it shows up now. And we may have to activate the snippet. Let me see if I did that. Site-wide footer. Still not sure if this will work. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. And I'm going to clear the cache just in case, because again, it's a browser function. And I still don't see it's working. So what I'm going to do is tell it, here's the page. If you're using ChatGPT, it can actually go to the page. I have it set to run on this page, and it's not displaying. Now, I have other ways to figure this out, but I want to show you what, this is crazy how it's live. Here is page. Just paste the page URL in. Let's see if it can find it and fix it. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I've cleaned up the code to ensure it works properly. Okay. Let's see what it says. I've updated, so it dynamically adds the styles and appends the spinning wheel to the dime. Okay. Let's see if it's right. Sometimes it's right the first time. Sometimes it just hallucinates and makes me torture myself for an hour or two, but it ultimately will get us there. I refresh the page. Let's see. There it is. Okay. Chris says the ChatGPT desktop app will soon. Right. Actually, I'm going to show you my other girlfriends and boyfriends are Perplexity and Claude. And Perplexity already has a private training, which is super cool. And Claude has a thing that allows you to interact with your desktop apps. So scares the shit out of me, but it's also awesome because what I did, for example, is I can train it on the data for my business, but I also, they claim it's private. We'll see if I end up on the news. I also put like all my medical records into my surgeries, and I created just essentially like a virtual Spence surgical referral for it to talk to, for me to talk to it about recommending different things to do. So we are like, this is crazy world. But what I'm trying to show you, hopefully this is coming through, is how we can use this tool to develop stuff rapidly. Now I'm going to extend some of the features with the time that we have. Correct. So Sharon brings up a good point. This is very esoteric. I would not put all of the styles in line. I would put the styles elsewhere. How would I do that? I would, for example, see this style here, variable style, document create style, spinning wheel, I would modify this to put these styles with a certain class into one place. And where I put stuff is I go into appearance, and this is where Cadence Pro comes in. So I'm going to go to Cadence Pro. I think it's available in the free one, but it doesn't matter. You got Cadence Pro anyway. Just install Cadence Pro by turning it on. JK. JK. Okay, here we go. Cadence Pro. Now, this allows me to have a thing under appearance, customize, called site-wide CSS or additional CSS. And this is where I normally put all of the CSS instead of in a custom style sheet. But guess what? You could create the same site-wide style as a Fluent snippet if you preferred. I like to put it in this theme because I always know where it's going to be. And if Fluent snippets ever has to be turned off, it's very rare that the theme and the style sheet and the theme is going to cause me any kind of major problems. But that's a good point. Right now, I'm just demonstrating how this is also modular and flexible. And here's the cool thing. Unlike the old days, I can change the theme all day long and none of this will have any effect on it, right? So in the old days, we had to make a child theme. And then if you change to some other theme, you're sort of out of luck. If I wanted to change to another theme, I won't bother. You can just essentially know that all of this stuff is going to work just fine, okay? All right, now let's bring this all together into doing something even more fascinating, right? Extending the snippets. Now, I have a client that I've been showing you guys that we're just blowing things out of the water. This has been a crazy week, but so Mother Earth Labs, I love working with this team. It's e-commerce. It's built on essentially the very same tool set with the LaunchKit. They're doing crazy amounts of great business, much more quickly and efficiently than they were before we got involved in this. So one of the things we've got in here is when you add products to the cart, if somebody is a wholesale customer, different things show up. If the product here, for example, if a wholesaler doesn't give you options to choose between one time or subscription, they're just buying it. Wholesalers can only buy it. When we add it to the cart, what happens with wholesalers is we needed to create a very special set of discount rules here that isn't really easy to do, that are based upon whether somebody has a tag in the CRM. So if somebody has the wholesale customer tag, the special wholesale discount will apply. And even more so, let's say they go up to a certain number of units. It will then take that very special set of calculations, based upon them being a wholesaler and what they bought, and it will add on another layer of calculations. It will add on a volume discount. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Close this. Let's see if I can get this to kick in. Now that I've reached a certain number, I've got the standard wholesale discount, but check this out. I've got this crazy volume discount, which is taking everything calculated after the normal discounts, and it's applying a discount only on the total, not on the gross. I know this is esoteric, but the point I'm making is it's using special logic. Here's my back talking to me. It's using special logic that we can do by way of snippets. Now, here's what's cool too. I'm able to use the Fluent snippets as a container and save the stuff and back it up and use it in other places. So for example, let's say I wanted to use similar logic. Uncle Spence or you can create all kinds of cool stuff that are modular boxes and move them around your client sites as simple as exporting, importing, or in bulk. So to do this, let's add another plugin from the kit. Let's use the file manager. So we go here. Where are you, WP file manager? It's in there. I'm gonna have to do a search on the file. Let's find it. Too many words. There it is. So nope, that's profile builder. Where are you, file manager? There it is, WP file manager. So let's turn this on because this is a way for you to get to get similar to FTP or SFTP capabilities. You can see all of the stuff in your site. And one of the things that's really cool about using Fluent snippets, remember I was telling you, is if you go into your WP content uploads, or actually just WP content, check this out, Fluent snippet storage. So what I can do is look for any of these snippets and I can grab them and move them around. But guess what? The reciprocal is true too. I can open up in another file manager something that lets me copy and paste in a snippet from let's say another site. So let's see if this works. I've not tried this, but today I have got on my desktop a zip file where I downloaded from Mother Earth Labs some of the things that I had created. Let's see. I may have cleaned it up a little bit. So let me see if I can find it here. Hold on. And the reason I want to show you is because the logic of this is awesome. There it is. So I've got this file here, Fluent Snippets, Mother Earth Labs. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to just take a whole mess of stuff. That's a technical word. And I'm just going to drag a whole mess of stuff into here. And let's see if it'll let me do that. I may have to do this separately. Hold on. Let's do this where I do one at a time. You can't see what I'm doing, but here, add to cart shortcut. Let's see. Doesn't seem happy. Let's use the uploader here. So add upload files. There, that's what I need. So I need to use the drag and drop. And I'm going to take this whole mess of stuff, put it in there. Let's see what happens. If that doesn't work, I'll just do this a different way, but let's see if it actually works. This is not super critical how I get the file in there. So, all right, I'm going to try one other way. Upload file, select file. And what I'm looking at is this. I had to download here. Oh, I know the problem. I didn't unzip this. That's why. So hold on. I got to extract all. That's why. I was looking at it in my preview, but it was all still feeling to the computer like it was one zip file. So here, let me just take, for example, I'm not going to put, I don't need to put like every single one in here, but I could. Let's just put a bunch of them in here. Here, WP LaunchKit ones. Now, I don't know what it's going to do with the naming, but I think it should be okay. Let's see if it works out. Okay, what I just did is I dumped like a whole array of cool stuff. Think of these as your personal assets. Now, we're not going to necessarily run these because there may be things to do, but one of the things I just showed you with that complex set of tools and arrays, all I'm doing is taking the existing plugins I've got WooCommerce, I've got WP Fusion, I got whatever features. I make a certain set of really cool things for a client. Guess what I can do? I can now use that and sell that as a service or a tool to all of my clients without having to write a whole plugin and doing distribution. I just put in the launch kit. I have Fluent Snippets. The client comes and sees the solution. I go, you got it, baby. I'll put it right in there. It's like selling an accessory to stuff that exists somewhere else, right? It's like a multi-level marketing way for you to make more money, look smarter, and using the help of your coding assistant, right? So let me show you. If you missed the beginning of the show, you can install the new LaunchKit plugin automatically. So the LaunchKit plugin's installed in LaunchKit. That's one way to do it. Or you can just go to, it's a good question, wplaunchify.com/software bundle. The LaunchKit is always publicly available here above the board. Or you can do like I showed you, if you have a brand new site, you can just go ahead and install it from the repository and then click the update button. So good question. Let's take a look at what happens here. Now that I've put all these tchotchkes in, let's see if they show up. They may need to be indexed. I will tell you that much. I've never tried to like import this way because there's another tool for doing that kind of stuff. But let's see if these show up. I'm not sure if they will. Interesting. It's interesting to me because I haven't tried this because I always work without a net. Might have to just put these in one by one, which actually isn't too bad because I think it's probably not indexing it on the back end. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is, let's say we just do this. We make a new snippet. You just install these and, put the proper verbiage in there as you go. So like, for example, you can't see my screen, but I'll open up one of these snippets like the, Here's a cool plugin I wrote called the email replacer. Okay, this is very complex. I'm going to go PHP. I'm going to paste it. What I'm going to do is call this WP LaunchKit And I use this for a specific problem. Email replacer. This will replace any email with another email across the full site. And we're going to make a new group. We're going to call this user functionality. Functionality. Okay. And we'll go emails. So you can really granularly organize this. Now, this function is something that I wrote with a little help. It essentially uses some MySQL, which is a fancy word for the database term, to very quickly create a user interface that allows me to put in the email of somebody and replace it with another one. So in other words, the same user can replace. I did this because we wanted to replace the administrator email across this whole site very fast. Now, this would normally require a lot of stuff, right? Notice the warning. But I was able to make it into a snippet. And by doing it as a snippet, it might actually justify a full plugin. But what a pain in the ass that would be, right? To have to start from scratch. Let me paste that back in. I deleted too much. It'd be just a pain in the ass to make this a full plugin. So let's just do it as a snippet. Snippet storage. Exactly. Okay. So what does this do? This is going to make a new admin interface. Let's refresh, called Email Replacer. And I just wrote it with let's use WP LaunchKit for the hide notices. I just made it very simple. Just what's the old email? What's the new email? Okay, let's try it out. We're going to make a new user. And we're going to call this test@testing.com. Test user. Okay, we'll just add them. We don't need to send them an email, but we're going to just add the new user as a contact. Now, we can double check that the person exists just for fun, because all of our setups now made it automatically. They're in the CRM. Cool. Let's go back and use our new, really powerful functionality. I've already forgotten what I've called the person. This is when the medicine kicks in. This is test@testing.com. So we're going to change this. Let's see if it works. Test@testing.com. We're going to call it awesome. It works at testing.com. We're going to replace. That's it. Let's take a look and see what happens. First of all, if we go to the users, I don't know if this will work. It should work. Oh, check it out. It changed the name. I'm sorry, it changed the email, but left the user profile alone. Same ID number, same position. If we go to the CRM, let's see what happened there. It changed it there as well. Magic ensues. Okay. I've ran my body and my clock has said time's up, Spence. All right. I want to show you one more thing, but what have we learned today? What have we learned today is that Spence is on a tear. The old Spence is back, baby, because the crazier WordPress gets, the more it melts down, the more what I'm showing you here makes sense. Having a relationship with a stable, thinking about other people first group of individuals, starting with Uncle Spence, is the world that you want to live in. I'm being prescriptive here. I know you guys are here anyway. I don't have to sell you on it, but that's the place to be. I am providing you what I hope is a very clear picture of a world where the features and the plugins and the software of WordPress come together with modern tools to make your world so simple. Because now, look what I did here. I didn't do any hand coding, but I just showed you like at least 5 or 6 ways that you can provide value to your own business or to your customer's business using the tools that I provide to you in one kit for $97 a month. There will be some other offers. And in a way, you can build up a whole business of things that you never really would have thought to do or could do before, like with the snippets. The snippets have so much power to do valuable stuff. My client, this is among others, is getting stuff done from me for a cost that is not cheap, not free, but infinitely less expensive and less complicated and more beneficial than what they had been doing. And I like to say they're thrilled. I'm thrilled to be working with them because I can now solve problems as fast as I'm showing you here and do it in a very modular way that, like we're sharing a moment ago, is very organized. And I want to show you why this is relevant in the big picture. If we go over here back to our snippets to put this to bed, we now have, check it out. Oh, look, they showed up. It re-indexed it. So actually, that's good to see. I have all of these little tchotchkes, very nicely named, very nicely organized. I can look at them as a table or as groups or as lists or whatever. I can search by tag. I have this engine of stuff that makes me super powered, even with bad back. You too will be super powered. What does Spence want to do here? Well, here's the deal. I am going to be implementing, see at the top it says Launch Club. I started a while back with the concept of, you can almost hear a bell ringing when my legs give out. I started with the concept of, I do not want to have a community where people just come in and like jibber jabber and social and everything. I don't want that. What I want is, I want a community where I have a financially lucrative asset for all the members of the community in the form of things that Spence can randomly create that can be sent downstream and, like I showed you today, used for a valuable purpose. So rather than like my trike flying community, which is 20 plus years old and 10,000 members strong that I can't squeeze a nickel to get 6 cents out of, I want this to be, it'll either be the Launch Club or it'll be Spence List. I'm going to make an announcement that is essentially like a paid membership, even for people that are in my regular whatever. It's optional, where I'm going to be able to use the Fluent community plus these other things to create all these rando solutions that I'm doing for my clients and essentially give them to you, share them with you, teach you stuff, and you'll be able to teach back, because it's a very meta, not meta like Facebook meta, but very meta like circular, ecosystem. If I can show you what I'm doing with the tools and then give them to you in a formal way and, have you pay me for hands-on consulting, sure, that's awesome. But there's got to be a level between total DIY and you paying me for hands-on. And that's what this is going to be. So what I'm going to be announcing for my Black Friday and all the rest of the stuff is an introductory offer. I want to get, I have close to 5,000 active clients right now. 50,000 plus people on an older list, but the people that are still with me, about 5,000 people, I'd like to get as many people as possible. I'm thinking of charging $100 per quarter. So you can just go every 3 months, or you can just get a deal like buy it for the year. It's going to be something either WP Launch Club or Spence List, where it's going to be this kind of stuff. It's going to be all of the magic tricks that I do on a daily basis, huge value, put into a place where it's in the community of WP Launchify probably, or maybe one of those domains. And it'll be for people who really want to make a living or want to improve their business, because you could just go like, holy cow. And you'll be able to interact with myself and others to also cross share. I right now have a ton of folks. Good morning, Julie. You're going to definitely want to. Yes, Julie, you're going to want to watch this replay because you didn't miss it. I screwed up, and because of whatever the time change, I started an hour early. So I'm going to talk to you later today anyway. You can ask questions, but watch the video and then you can bring your questions. So sorry about that when we had a good show today. Back to the point. I want to make it that with this new in-betweener, everybody can communicate with each other. And if you're, for example, somebody who has design skills, you're familiar with Cadence, you're familiar with doing Gutenberg blocks or e-commerce, I'm constantly getting other clients who have bigger companies that need that kind of service. So I think that we're going to have a very great opportunity to be up and down the chain of people who can work with IKEA. I'm an IKEA expert. I'm a Lego expert. My ultimate goal is not to build a marketplace, but rather to say, I am giving away as much as I can as possible. This is an additional way, somewhere between DIY and hands-on help, or the $97 a month email to get in. So please expect an email on it. I want to say thank you to everybody. I had such an amazing feeling of knowing I'm doing good things in the world, because so many of you reached out and offered your well wishes for my recovery. I want to let you know I'm feeling really good today. I had a bad flare up a day before and I didn't sleep for a day, but I actually took my phone, sat on the chair, worked on client stuff. I had lots of calls. Everybody's been amazing. And I'm really feeling like this might be the trick. Even if it's not for right now, doesn't matter, because what I'm super empowered by is like how this going on. I can't believe it's 11 months since we formally launched LaunchKit, Minute LaunchKit. How 20 years plus this 1 year have essentially come together. Everything is working in the right way. I don't know if it's kismet, but like the meltdown of Matt Mullenweg and WordPress's ecosystem has made it even easier for me to explain to people why this is such an easy no-brainer for their own business and otherwise. And hopefully many of you guys are new and my current clients, many of you agree that having me on your team as your concierge, along with what I've showed you today, is going to empower you to do things for other human beings. Because my takeaway is this: I don't think this has nothing to do with politics. This is human nature. The golden rule, doing unto others and making others your priority over yourself, always wins. The more you do to make it easier for other people in life, the more they will help you in your life. And I've always found that to be just intuitive, but now more than ever, I am super pumped that even with my limitations, it's actually shown a light on how easy it is to make an incredibly generous living, helping other people to make a generous living in a world where we're all cooperating and getting along instead of trying to break things down. So I hope that you'll agree. And I'll send you an email probably later today or this weekend about this the Launch Club or Spence List, whatever I decide to call it. And then finally, with all of the naming and stuff, I'm really trying to boil this back down to where I wanted it to be, which is the WP Launchify, and it's the kit and the club. Ta-da. And even though the kit and the club may have specific names, I want it to be really easy to understand. All right. Thank you, everybody. Julie, sorry I caught you at the end, but watch this replay. Send me an email. We can set up a call for later. Everybody else, thank you for your support. I'm really happy to be back. And I'll see you with an email and then later in the week. Till then, have a great weekend.